Hi, my name is Pastor Teresa. I'm the lead minister at the First Unitarian Church of Oakland, and I would like to welcome you today to this service. I'm here with a team of folks from both within the congregation and from Unitarian Universalism at large to celebrate the significance of National Coming Out Day. You'll hear more than one perspective in this service, and we will be uncovering the gifts of queerness and the gifts of the LGBTQ+ community. I'm glad you're here today. We are a multi-generational, multiracial, multicultural, anti-oppressive, and inclusive religious community, and we're glad you're here.
We light this chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism. May it remind us of the divine spark in all of creation, the power of love to heal what is broken, and to be grateful for life's blessings each day.
We light this candle in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and work for the day in which all Black lives are treated equitably with dignity and justice.
Last week, we debuted a beautiful piece of music by the Crescendo Choir in their virtual format called I Welcome You. We're going to reprise that this week, not only because it was a wonderful, beautiful piece, but also because some of you may not have seen it, and it really is a blessing. Join me in listening to I Welcome You. I'm so excited to welcome today Zister Alex Kapitan. Alex is a lay community minister, an organizer, an educator, and an editor. Z is a co-founder of Transforming Hearts Collective and the founder of Radical Copy Editor. I'm grateful we have a chance now to hear from Alex. Thank you, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I was born outside the closet. I have never experienced an internal sense of lack of worth or religious violence or shame over any facet of who I am. It's not that I haven't faced barriers to embracing my truth or living as my authentic self, but I have never kept understanding of myself buried in a closet. I've never denied the truth of any part of my identity to myself. Every day I am profoundly grateful for all those who made this possible for me. The elders and ancestors who painstakingly broke down parts of the closets that hemmed them in and forged a path that others could follow more easily. When people ask me, "When did you come out?" I laugh. It's not because the concept of closets is funny to me, and it's not because I was never in, honey. It's because I don't even know what part of me they're asking about. At 16, I named myself bi-ish. At 18, I was bisexual. At 20, pansexual. At 21, queer and polyamorous. At 22, genderqueer. At 23, trans. At 24, kinky. At the age of 27, I came out to my dad as having a motorcycle. It's the only experience I've ever had that reflects the popular mainstream story of what it means to come out. Daddy, I have something to tell you. I know you're going to have some feelings about it. I'm practicing safety in this lifestyle of mine. I wear all the protective gear. No, this isn't a trend or something new. I've been hiding it from you for 5 years. I hid photos on Facebook. I lied about trips I've took. And please don't tell Mama. I'm not ready for her to know yet. He outed me to her, and she threatened to disown me. It was a scene. Please know that I'm not belittling the concept of the closet or the lives that have been downtrodden, delayed, or destroyed because of the oppression that causes us to hide away parts of ourselves from the world, from our loved ones, and even from ourselves. But I do celebrate the fact that I am proof that another world is possible, a world with no closets. So, in such a world, what does being out mean? To me, it means knowing and naming myself to myself. I can be out as queer without ever needing to tell a single soul. I can be out as trans in the privacy of my own mind. It's not the labels that matter, nor the ways in which others perceive me. It's about my own self understanding, self worth, and self love. Some people need others to know certain things in order to have authentic relationships with them. If someone is gay, they might need others to know and affirm that their partner isn't just a roommate or a close friend. If someone is non binary, they might need others to understand that they aren't a woman or a man and to call them by their true name and pronouns. Other people don't need anyone to know intimate details about them in order to have authentic relationships with them. If someone is bi, they aren't any less bi if they don't tell everyone in their life. If someone's a trans man, no one is entitled to know that he was raised as a girl or what's in his pants. He's fully out by virtue of living his life as a man, as his true self. Still others are unable to share the truth of who they are because of well-founded fears of violence, discrimination, judgment, punishment, or murder. That doesn't mean they are hiding or lying or being untrue. You see, coming out isn't about someone else's entitlement to some intimate truth about you. It's about being your whole self and loving your whole self. You don't need to tell a single person who you are in order to be out. All you need to do is live your truth every day in whatever ways you need or are able to. For me, life is a constant journey of coming out, practicing curiosity about who I am today and who I am becoming tomorrow. Every day I live my truth. Every day I fully embody the self that I am today. I come out. I am not the same self I was yesterday. Today, I am a day older. I have had new experiences that have affected me, and millions of cells in my body have been reborn. Just as our very bodies are in a constant state of change, so too are our identities. Some people's sense of self changes slowly over their lifetime, and other people's identity shifts breathtakingly quickly. No sense of self is static. That's impossible. To be alive is to be ever changing, and to be out is to be ever curious. I am dedicated to building a world where everyone experiences curiosity and joy in each new self discovery, as well as love and support in sharing those discoveries with others. A world where there is nothing that walls off parts of ourselves and each other. Nothing that lifts up certain ways of being as normal and every other way of being as abnormal, less valuable, less real, less human. A world where all of us can be our full, authentic selves and bring the fullness of who we are forward in whatever ways are best for us. I'm dedicated to building a world without closets.
Hello, everybody. We're going to sing This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine all around the world. All around the world. I'm gonna let it shine all around the world. I'm gonna let it shine all around the world. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, this little light of mine, yes, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Next, we're honored and privileged to hear from Dick Bailey. Dick is a longtime member of this congregation, and in fact was one of the people who helped the congregation achieve welcoming congregation status. Dick is sharing the history with us so that we can remember where we've been and allow it to inform where we're headed. Thank you, Dick.
In October 2005, Reverend Kathy Huff sent out an email inviting folks who thought our church should become an LGBTIQ welcoming congregation to come to a meeting. Roughly a dozen people showed up. A woman seminarian on the staff had volunteered to be the co-chair of the steering committee to accomplish that goal. And Reverend Kathy strongly urged that, for balance, a second co-chair not be of the same gender. I looked around the room and, to my chagrin, confirmed that I was the only guy present. I really didn't want to lead an LGBT committee. When we came to First Oakland in 1994, Greg and I had the opportunity to join a gay men's affinity group, and we decided not to. Why not? Well, I have this thing about labels, how they leave out far more than they explain about a person. And we each wanted to be known for our complete selves, not simply defined by our sexual orientation. Looking back, I think that notion was legitimate, though I'm sure that some of my reservation was based upon my own internalized homophobia. Shortly thereafter, the other co-chair and her partner decided to go their separate ways, and as happens in some relationships, her partner got the church. And that's how I became chair of First Oakland's Welcoming Congregation Steering Committee. Now, why did our church need to become a welcoming congregation? After all, weren't we already one, just without the official UUA stamp of approval? Here we were in Northern California, indeed in the progressive stronghold of the East Bay. We worshiped in Oakland, the city with the largest concentration of lesbians in the United States, and we were adjacent to San Francisco, where the boys are. What could be more welcoming than that? Well, it turned out that of the 19 Bay Area Unitarian Universalist congregations at that time, only 2 had not gone through the UUA's 16-step process to be sanctioned as a welcoming congregation. The brand new congregation just forming in Petaluma, and us. All of the other congregations had the welcoming congregation rainbow flag symbol next to their listings on the UUA website, so that those searching the internet for a new church home would know which congregations were welcoming of LGBTIQ folks and assume, unfortunately, by the absence of that symbol, which ones weren't. At first, I think we all thought that becoming a welcoming congregation would be a slam dunk. But the more we delved into the 16 steps, the more we realized that there was, and I might add still is, much more work to be done. Over the next year and a half, a lot of good people put a lot of good energy into providing LGBTIQ sensitive programming for the entire congregation and for the community beyond. They crafted 5 worship services, put on a 7-part education series entitled The Full Spectrum, showed movies on Friday nights, shared personal stories for 7 straight months in the church's Sower newsletter, mobilized a campaign of cottage conversations in support of marriage equality throughout the area, sponsored a speaker series on LGBTIQ parenting, put on a light opera based upon Isabel Miller's lesbian love story, Patience and Sarah, and coordinated Bay Area UU congregations marching in 2 parades. That's the visible stuff. Internally, meeting every 2 weeks, over time we had to confront our own biases, our own demons, our own shame, our own self-doubts. Emily Montan dubbed us the alphabet people because what started out as LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, expanded to include intersex, queer, and questioning asexual allies ad infinitum. And most every time we talked about LGBTIQAS or wrote about LGBT, we got mixed up, left something out, or otherwise offended somebody. Superficially being called the alphabet people was much simpler. However, just because in the heteronormative world we were grouped together as sexual minorities, that didn't mean that there were not major differences in the lived experiences of individuals within each sexual minority or the collective experience between sexual minorities. Everyone in the group had been damaged, not celebrated, for being different, for being less than, for being abnormal. Over those 18 months, that damage came to the surface. It was at times messy, but it had to be aired, listened to, and acknowledged. Good intentions, tunnel vision, and blind spots confronted, consciousness raised, and in some cases, amends made. It was Marge Piercy's work that is real. A slam dunk it was not. But however bumpy and rough the road, with your love and support, we became an official welcoming congregation and got that rainbow flag symbol next to First Unitarian Church of Oakland's name on the UUA website. Sometimes you get involved in things not really knowing up front what you're getting yourself into. You're pretty sure that you know what you don't want to do, and then circumstances dictate that you have to do that anyway. And in so doing, you find out that your initial reservations could be more than overcome by the deepening of relationships and the satisfaction of accomplishment. When our co-chair had to leave the Welcoming Congregation Steering Committee, the group rallied together and we persevered. Later in the most recent capital campaign, when my mom died and I started losing my marbles, co-chair Noemi de Guzman kept us wonderfully afloat and saw us through. More recently, while chairing the Ministerial Search Committee, Noemi's mom passed, and the rest of the committee rose to the occasion with a marvelous result. In community, life balances out. In community, the individual good and the greater good coexist. Thank goodness for community. Thank goodness for each of you. Happy National Coming Out Day.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down to freedom land.
I invite you to join me in a moment of contemplation, reflection, prayer. Take a second wherever you are to take a deep breath. To feel your feet on the floor or yourself in a seat. To feel those connections between body and object, and think about the way that those connections go further and further, sinking through the floor into the ground, and the way that those connections are bolstered by this connection, by this little bit of digital magic that lets me in my room connect with you wherever you are, turning me into little bits of electronic information that can come to you. Letting us stay connected even when we are apart. Spirit of life, great source of love in the universe, inspiration of all that can be. We are thankful for opportunities to connect. We are thankful for the magic of marginalized people, for the possibilities that are cut into the world by people willing to do something different. We lift our hearts to all who are suffering, who are in jail, who are sick, who are afraid. We ask that all may be freed and that we may live into our best possibilities as agents of liberation. Amen. I remade myself this morning, as I do every day. I got up into a world that still doesn't completely know what to make of this, and chose to continue becoming myself. I chose to put on the rainbow stole and style the rainbow hair and make myself visible again. I woke up and I chose to make something beautiful and nurturant and my own out of, well, what initially appeared to be severely limited choices. I didn't grow up in a world with people like me. I didn't grow up in a world with people like me in so many realms. I'm from a pretty small town in Northeast Ohio, and, well, let's just say my experience of queer people as a young person was mostly queer people being used as a cautionary tale, as something to make sure I didn't turn into. Whoops. The choices I was presented with were broader than the choices that, say, my mother had been presented with, but still really locked into ideas about what it meant to have been born in the body that I have, what it meant to be someone who was told they were a girl, what it meant to be someone who was supposed to grow up and marry a man and have some children, and it never sounded that exciting to me. Not that it's not exciting to some people. But there weren't a lot of options for me. So I made myself. That's what we do. No matter how lucky or unlucky you were in the lottery of birth, in the lottery of parents, in the lottery of people to look up to, queer people, queer magic is creating spaces and places and an existence for yourself out of remnants of other people's stuff. Out of fractured shards of things people maybe didn't think they wanted or didn't think were good enough. I think a lot about, and I know a lot of queer people think a lot about Dolly Parton, who talks about her own presentation in this context where she says this story about when she was a kid. She was walking through town with her mother, and she'd always be walking through town with her mother. And there would be these women with big hair and big cleavage and tight dresses. And she would say, "Mommy, what's that?" And her mom would say, "Oh, she's trash." And she would say, "That's what I want to be. Trash." I feel like that sometimes. Like I looked at the world and said, you know what, this glitter that you threw away, this little bit of like sequiny fabric that you threw away, I'm going to take that and I'm going to make not only a costume, but a whole life out of it. A whole world of possibility that didn't exist before. That's queer magic too. We make possibility for each other. Dolly Parton might not be queer, but she did some queer magic, made some space by being flashy and out there and willing to say that she was trying to look like trash. British Australian scholar, theorist, I would say philosopher, but I think she would disagree with me, Sarah Ahmed, writes in a book called Queer Phenomenology about orientedness. So we think about orientation as really limited to, sexual orientation, which is, are you gay or not? But she writes about it as the way that we're pointed at the world. Like if life is a big forest and we are oriented towards our adventure through that forest based on some happenstances of birth and the way that we are going. Sometimes we get so far away from the normal path that people cease to be able to see us, but we see each other. And one of the magics of queerness is this thing where whenever one of us finds a path and lives it out loud, we make paths for each other. I had an excellent experience seeking healthcare at the Los Angeles LGBT Center. I had an excellent experience as a fat trans person seeking healthcare. I don't know if you hear how world-shatteringly awesome that is. I had that experience in part because of everybody who came before me, of everybody who did the hard work and showed up and said, no, but I exist, so that I could have a doctor who knows what on earth a non-binary person is. Queer magic opens up possibilities. And queer magic is vital in the moment that we find ourselves in the world at large, because queer magic is about knowing how to change. Queer magic is about knowing how to take things that do not fit, that are falling apart, and turn them into something beautiful and full of possibility. Something full of love and generativity. If you face a world that fits poorly, it feels like it's going to fall apart around you, that you can't find a place in, you can create a place. You can change yourself, and you can change the world around you to be something more full of love and beauty and joy. Love and beauty and joy, which are your birthright, beloveds. Love and beauty and joy, and the ability to be trash or something else, a different orientation, a journey down a different path, opening up pathways that we haven't seen before, letting there be space for the people who come after you to be even more. It's queer magic. And it's a gift. And you're a gift. May you always know, may you always feel that you are holy. That who you know yourself to be when it's just you and the universe together, is holy and whole and a necessary part of the life-changing magic of being in the world. Amen.
The encouragement for the invitation to generosity today comes from Adrienne Marie Brown. We are living in impossible times. If it were fiction, it would be critiqued as hyperbolic. If it were nightmares, we would never sleep. We are living in times created by our own species. I can't remember the last time my tears weren't man-made. It feels like everything is broken. We must, each of us, fix our attention on the nearest wound, conjure within us the smallest parts of ourselves that are still whole, and be healers. Heal with words and prayer and energy. Heal with money, clean water, time, and action. There's enough destruction, there's enough nothingness swallowing the living world. Don't add to it. There's enough. Our visions are ropes through the devastation. Look further ahead, like our ancestors did. Look further. Extend. Hold on. Pull. Evolve. We gratefully receive your generosity and your participation with the congregation. So may it be. Let us see to it. You can give by going to the website, uuoakland.org, by giving by text, by app, and also you can still mail a check to the church. It will end up in the right place, and we will be grateful for it. Thank you.
Please join us in our benediction. Go now in peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go